take a seat, get yourself comfortable, and then when you are, can you state your full name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Heather Capp, C-A-P-P.
Okay, Prosecutor?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Capp, good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Capp, can you tell us where you live?
I live on Tilton Drive in Ocean Township,
Approximately how long have you lived?
approximately 15 years.
Now, I want to take you back to the early morning hours of November 20th of 2018. Do you remember that morning?
I do.
Now, was there a point in time when you were awoken from sleep that morning?
Yes.
Can you tell us exactly how that happened?
I woke to male voices outside my home. I turned, I looked at my clock. It was 4:30 a.m. in the morning. I got up, I opened my window shade, and I looked out my window. I saw two men running across the street with flashlights. They were in dark-colored clothing and black baseball hats. One ran to the front door and started banging on the door, and the other went into the neighbor's driveway, kneeled down, and was pointing the flashlight into Paul's backyard.
Okay. So let me just break that down for a second. You talk about you woke up, you believed it was approximately 4:30 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Okay. So based upon being woken up, what exactly did you physically do?
I woke up and I looked at my clock.
Okay. You look at your clock. Did you get out of bed?
I did, got out of bed,
Once you got out of bed, where did you go?
to my window.
Okay. Now your window, can you tell us what you can see from outside your window?
My bedroom window is to the top right of my house. When you're facing my house, I can see the Caneiro house and the neighbor's house. It's situated in the middle of both homes.
Okay. So do you live on the same side of the street or the opposite side of the street from the Caneiro house you referenced?
Across the street.
Now, if I could just approach Judge, the witness with S1, I believe it's S1A 27 Tilton Drive, Powerful.
Okay.
Scott, I'm just approaching you with S1A. If I could just going to show you first, slide 9. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes,
And what is that?
the Caneiro home.
Okay. And when you referenced two different homes that you could see when you look out your window, correct?
Yes,
And you referenced this home, correct?
yes.
And then whose home is the other one you referenced?
Marilyn?
Okay. And would she be next door to the Caneiro home?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this picture, I know obviously there's some tape in there, but does that accurately depict the way that you recall 27 Tilton looking in November of 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Just going to show you slide 10 for purposes of identification. Do you recognize what's depicted in that slide?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
The Caneiro home and a part of Marilyn's driveway.
Okay. Now, okay, so does that accurately depict what the Caneiro house and that portion of Marilyn's driveway looked like back in November, specifically November 20th of 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And let me show you slide 11. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and what's that show?
The Caneiro home.
Okay. Do you see a portion of one side of the home in that photograph?
I see the right side by his fence.
Okay. Does that accurately depict that area of that home, November 20th of 2018?
Yes.
And then finally, I think this is the last one I'm going to show you for now. Slide 12, do you recognize what that shows?
Yes.
And what's it show?
It shows the Caneiro home and Marilyn's driveway to the right.
Okay. And Are there any vehicles depicted in that photograph?
There is.
Okay. And were they there when you first made observation out your window on that morning?
No.
Okay. Were there any vehicles in that driveway when you first made observations that morning?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Does this picture accurately depict the Caneiro house and Marilyn's driveway?
Yes.
Let me just show you one more before we go any further. Slide 13 of S1A. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
And what is it?
The side of the Caneiro home and a portion of Marilyn's driveway.
Okay. And that portion of Marilyn's driveway, does it have any vehicles in the driveway in that photo?
Yes.
And again, were they there when you first made observations that morning?
Not to my recollection.
But does that accurately depict the side yard and that driveway of the side yard of Mr. Caneiro's house?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to publish this?
Any objection?
No.
Okay.
Just for the record, S1A, slide 9. Ms. Capp, did I just show you that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And what again does that show?
The Caneiro home.
And that home is essentially, in some ways, across the street from your house?
Yes.
I think you already said it, but does that accurately depict the way it looked in daylight hours on November 20th of 2018?
Yes.
Now, just to be clear, the observations that you made that morning, November 20th, 2018, when you woke up and went to your window, was it light out or was it dark out?
It was dark.
Can I have S1A, slide 10, please? Showed you that picture too, correct?
Yes.
And what does that picture show?
The Caneiro home and Marilyn's driveway.
And the vehicles that are depicted in that photograph, were they there in that position when you first made your observations?
No.
Did you ever make observations of those vehicles or any vehicles in that driveway at some point that morning?
I believe so.
Okay. Can I have S1A, slide 11, please? Do you recognize that photo?
Yes.
Okay, when I showed you that a couple minutes ago?
Yes.
And what does that picture show?
The Caneiro home.
Okay. Do you see, I think you referenced the fence, correct?
Yes.
And that fence is on, looking at the photo, what side of the picture is it on?
The right.
And that fence, if you know, leads to where?
The Caneiro's backyard.
Ms. Capp, if you could just keep your voice up a little bit. Thank you. Okay, can I have S1A, slide 12, please? Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Okay, we talked about it a minute ago.
Yes.
And can you tell us what's depicted in that photograph?
The Caneiro home and Marilyn's driveway.
And again, there's vehicles present in that photograph,
Yes.
but they weren't there when you first made observations.
No.
And lastly, can I just have S1A, slide 13, please? And you said you recognize that photo, right?
Yes.
And what's that show?
The side of the Caneiro home and Marilyn's driveway.
Okay. You take that. You can go to the for a moment. I'll probably be back just to some photos. Now, you wake up, you approach that window, which is on the front side of your house, I think you said.
Yes.
And you said you made some observations of two men.
Yes.
Let's talk about them individually. Man number one, what was he doing?
Man number one was running across the street and ran to the Caneiro front door.
At that time, were you also seeing person number two, or were you watching them individually?
They were together, running across the street and then kind of separated.
Now, you said they were together running across the street. Can you explain, like, where they were in relation to your house, the street, and the Caneiro and Marilyn's residence?
When I first saw them, they were somewhere in the middle of the street on their route across the street to the Caneiro home.
Okay. And I know you talked about the clothing, but did you talk about what, if anything, they may have had in their hands, observations you made?
Had flashlights.
Okay. Now, The person who ran up to the Caneiro door, what does that person do?
He begins to bang on the door.
Okay. Can you hear the banging or you see the banging, or
I
both?
could hear it. I could hear it more than I could see it.
Okay. Did you hear any words coming out?
No.
Now, while that person approaches the door, where's the other person?
The other person ran onto Marilyn's driveway, kneeled down and pointed his flashlight into Paul's backyard.
Okay. So you look out your window, you see the first guy go to the door, you see the second guy somewhere in Marilyn's driveway pointing a flashlight, correct?
Yes.
How long did it take you from your first observation to see the guy pointing the flashlight? Approximately.
Pretty quickly.
Like less than a minute?
Probably a minute.
Okay. Now, once you see the guy pointing the flashlight, can you explain exactly where the light's going?
To the corner of the Caneiro backyard.
Where's that in relation to that in the one photograph we saw? Let me just do it this way. Can I have S1A, slide 13? You already talked about this photograph, correct?
Yes.
Can you just talk about the flashlight and the light in relation to this photograph?
The man was kneeling somewhere where the white truck is right now and pointing to the corner, through the fence, to the corner of that backyard.
When you make that observation of the guy pointing to the corner with the flashlight, do you look immediately to that, where the flashlight's going?
Yes,
Okay. And did you make any observations when you did that?
I did. I saw a fire on the bottom corner of the Caneiro home.
Now, the area where you see the fire coming from, would it be contained in that photograph to any extent? That's, the way you're looking at me, I'm imagining that's a
Sorry.
bad question. So, the area where the guy's pointing the flashlight,
Yes.
is that area anywhere within the photograph that's in front of you?
It's right on the corner of the home. I can see it.
So, if I were to ask you to put like a box or an X where you saw that fire, could you do that? A lot of technology.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to do that. Leave it just in case. Okay. Can we preserve that?
This is S1A, slide 13.1.
So, for a second, let's get back to the guy at the front door, okay? You said you heard banging. Did you hear anything in response to that banging, or see anything in response to that banging?
No.
Let me ask you this. The people that live in the house depicted in the photographs we've talked about, you referenced the Caneiro house, correct?
Yes.
Do you know who they are?
I knew them as neighbors.
Okay. So I should have asked you, back in November 20th of 2018, did you know those people that lived in the house?
I knew that the Caneiros lived in the house.
Did you know any of the names?
I only knew Paul's name and Susan.
Okay. Did you know at that point in time whether or not they had any children?
I knew they had 2 daughters.
Okay. But fair to say you didn't know their names?
No.
Now, do you know whether or not they had any dogs or anything like that?
They had 2 larger dogs.
Okay. How did you know that?
I've seen them walking the dogs. I've seen them running around the backyard.
Just neighbor stuff.
Neighbor
You saw
stuff.
dogs.
Yep.
Okay. Now, in response to the banging on the door, did you hear any dogs barking or anything like that?
No.
Now, while that banging's going on, the second person you referenced has the flashlight on the driveway, correct?
Yes.
You look and you see what's depicted in that box,
Yes.
and that's fire, correct?
Yes.
Did you continue to make observations or look at that area from your bedroom window?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened? Can you tell us that?
At some point, I noticed that the fire was escalating up the back of the house onto the roof.
Now, if you know, or if you could estimate, from the point in time when you first saw the small fire to the fire growing up towards the roof, could you possibly approximate that amount of time?
I believe my statement said 20 to 30 minutes.
To that end, at some point in time, as a result of what you saw, did you provide a statement to police?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, before that, were you spoken to by an investigator prior to that from a law office, so to speak?
Yes.
Did you provide information to them?
Yes.
Okay, and then did you also provide detailed information to the police?
Yes.
Now, so I think you just said approximately 20 to 30 minutes from seeing the small fire to seeing the fire grow.
Yes.
At some point in time, did you continue to track the movements of the person that went to the front door and the person with the flashlight on the driveway?
At some point, they both moved and they were going to different parts of the house, and that's when I lost track of the men.
Okay, when you say different parts of the house, what did you actually see them do?
Just leave the areas where I first saw them.
Now, was there a point in time while you're at your window watching the back area of the Caneiro house that you saw police or fire arrive?
I saw the first, what I believe to be the first fire truck arrive and pull up on my lawn.
Sorry about that. So your first observation of a police or fire vehicle was a vehicle that pulled onto your lawn?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember like what the vehicle looked like, color, etc.?
It was an SUV, and I believe it was red.
Did it have like fire, some sort of Ocean Township markings on it?
To my recollection.
Okay. Red truck,
Yes.
red SUV, you said? Correct?
Yes.
What made you think it was a fire vehicle?
The color and the fact that someone came out of the truck and was taking things out of the trunk of the SUV.
When you say things, did you know what they took out?
No.
Did you keep track of that person and see where they went?
No.
After seeing that vehicle, the red SUV, pull onto your lawn, did you eventually see more police and fire vehicles arrive?
Yes.
And what were they doing?
Everybody was arriving, the cars were parking, getting out, and I guess looking at the scene and working on it.
Was it clear to you that at some point during this, firefighters were attempting to douse the fires?
Yes.
And eventually, did the fire extinguish?
Yes.
Did you ever go outside that morning?
No.
Did you eventually go outside later that morning?
Later that morning,
Now, did you ever have any conversations with any of the Caneiros that morning?
no.
Okay. Now, as far as you talked about those two guys, and I think you said the initial observations were in the street.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be closer to your house than when they were on the Canero property.
Yes.
Did you see any vehicles when you look, I mean, prior to the red SUV, but when you first looked out your window, did you see any vehicles like in the area?
There was an older model four-door car parked outside my home, kind of in the middle of my home and my neighbor's home.
When you talk about your neighbor, do you know your neighbors, who they are, their names?
Yes.
Okay, who are
The Harringtons.
they? Vehicle, you said, I think you said it's between your house and the Harrington's house?
Yes.
Was it, do you know, like specifically where? Was it near their driveway? What was the story with that?
It was more so closer to my home, but there's an area of lawn in between my home and the Harrington's home. It was parked around there.
Driveway near your house or further from your house?
It's to the left of my home.
Is it on the closer side of their home or the further side of their home from you? That makes sense.
It's on the corner, and then their home is facing on the other side of the corner.
And what, if you were on the Harrington driveway, if you know, and you were looking across the street, what would you be looking at?
Caneiro home.
Now, that vehicle, the vehicle you saw, did it stay in the area you first saw it, or what?
I don't recall. I remember seeing it, and then at some point it wasn't there.
When you made observations of that, you first made observations of that vehicle, was the fire going in the backyard yet?
I believe so.
Okay. Because I want to just be clear, though, when you first looked outside your window that morning, how long was it until you saw the first evidence of fire in the backyard?
It must have been minutes.
I asked you if you had any conversations with any of the Caneiros that morning, and you said no, correct?
No. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever make any observations of them at all, without speaking to them? Did you see them?
At some point after the emergency vehicles were there, I saw the Caneiro Porsche SUV parked outside across the street between Marilyn and the other neighbor's home.
Again, you didn't speak to them, correct?
No.
So they were across the street, so on the Caneiro, Maryland side of the house?
Yes.
The two men that were in the street, did you have any feelings or did you have any thoughts as to whether or not they were associated with the vehicle that was between the Harringtons and your house?
I don't know.
The person who went to the door, the Caneiro door, did you see if that person ever went inside or you don't know?
I never saw him go inside.
Now, as far as the observations you made, did you call 911 as a result of what you saw?
No.
Did you relay the information to anyone as you were seeing it?
My husband.
But ultimately, based upon your observations, did police and fire arrive at the area of 27 Tilton Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Was it long or short from when you first started describing those observations and seeing those things?
I believe my statement said 20 to 30 minutes.
And during the course of that time, was the fire going for the entirety?
Yes.
Judge, I have nothing further.
Ross? Ma'am, if you could do me a favor, in the corner, right where it says 9:45, there's something that says undo. You see that? Can you just hit that until the box goes away? It's in the black area.
Oh, I see it.
Thank you.
Morning, Ms. Capp.
Morning.
So you referenced your statement a couple times on direct. I said I believe in my statement it said this. Is it fair to say that you've recently reviewed your statement, is that fair?
Yes.
And is it also fair to say you're relying on information in your statement because the information in your statement was given much closer in time to when this happened than present day?
Yes.
So obviously your memory was better then than it might be today if you were trying to recollect all those years ago.
Yes.
Okay. And you also referenced your statement a couple times, and I think the prosecutor got into it a little bit, but you gave two statements in this case?
Yes.
And the first statement you gave was on November 24th of 2018, correct?
I'd have to see that. I don't recall the date.
Would seeing a copy of the statement refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Do you have it?
I do.
Do Do you have both? Oh, you do. I'm going to show you, first I'm going to show you what's been marked as D67 for identification. May I approach?
You got it?
Showing you a copy of your original statement, and I'm just going to direct, you recognize this as your original statement?
It's a summary of a statement I gave, yes.
Okay. I'm just going to direct your attention here where it shows the date, if you want to just read it to yourself and then let me know when you're ready. Just the date.
The date, yes. Okay.
All right, so this statement was given on Saturday, November 24th, 2018, correct?
That's what it says.
And that was 4 days after the fire happened at 27 Tilton, correct?
Correct.
And just to be clear, the prosecutor was referencing this as the Caneiro home, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about Paul's home, right?
Yes.
Okay, Paul Caneiro, not Keith Caneiro,
Correct.
Okay. And so you give this statement on November 24th, 4 days after, and the prosecutor characterized it as to a law office. It was to like a private investigator, correct?
Yes.
Who was hired by a law office,
Correct.
right, for Mr. Caneiro.
Yes.
It was not the police department or the prosecutor's office or anything like that.
Correct.
Now, after you gave a statement to that investigator, you were then interviewed almost maybe like 3.5 weeks later. It was on December 17th of 2018. Do you recall that?
If that's the date of the statement,
Would seeing a copy of the statement refresh your memory as to the date?
yes.
Okay. I'm going to approach with what's been previously marked as S81. And you said you've seen your statement before, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you recognize this to be your statement?
Yes.
And this is the, let's see, it's a 9-page statement. It has your signature at the bottom, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you reviewed it at the time, you've reviewed it since?
Yes.
And I'm going to just direct your attention to the date.
December 17th, 2018.
Okay. So you gave 2 statements, first to the private investigator and then a few weeks later to the prosecutor's office.
Yes.
And as you mentioned when you were questioned on direct, the reason you're here is because there were certain observations that you made that morning, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the first observation that you made that morning was actually auditory?
Yes.
You heard something?
Yes.
Okay. And what you heard were, you testified on direct, you heard voices outside.
Yes.
Okay. And those were the voices of 2 men, correct?
Turned out to be 2 men, yes.
Okay. And they were speaking in a little bit of like a kind of excitedly? Is
Yes.
that how you would characterize it?
Yes.
Okay. And when you heard the voices, you got up and you looked out your window?
I checked my clock and then I got up out of my bed and went to my window, yes.
So you checked your clock first?
Yes.
And the clock said 4:30.
Yes.
And so at 4:30, you check your clock, and then you get up and you look out the window?
Yes.
And when you look out the window, that's when you actually see the 2 men.
Yes.
And what you described was, so there's 1 man, and you said originally they're in the middle of the street?
You were running in the middle of the street.
Running in the
towards
middle of the street,
Caneiro home.
towards the Caneiro home,
Yes.
Paul Caneiro's home. And at that point, did they separate?
At some point, they separated to go.
1 man goes up to the front door, you said?
Yes.
And he's banging on the door.
Yes.
Okay. And you heard the banging,
Yes.
but you didn't hear any response or anything like that?
No.
the second man is going, can we put up that photo again with the driveway and the...
13, slide 13, is that the one you're looking for?
Sounds about right, yes. The second man, you stated, is kind of like right by, almost maybe, you said by that white truck?
He went up Maryland's driveway, sort of by the white truck, yes.
Okay. And he's crouching down.
He's kneeling, yes.
He's kneeling. And he's shining a flashlight toward where you then observe the fire.
Yes,
And it's like a small fire at that point?
yes,
Okay.
from what I can see.
And at some point it gets bigger.
Yes,
And again, I think you testified to this a few times, but so it was about 20 to 30 minutes before you saw first responders arriving.
that's what my statement said, yes.
Okay. And that's the statement you gave within a few days of this happening, right?
Yes,
And you described the two men as wearing dark colored clothing.
yes,
And you said they were wearing, both of them were wearing like a baseball style hat.
yes,
And so they weren't in like any type of uniform that you could tell.
not that I can tell.
And when you said flashlights, were you able to see the flashlight or you just saw light?
I just saw a light.
So you're not sure if it was like a handheld old school flashlight or like a cell phone flashlight? Were you able to tell that?
No,
You just saw that there was some sort of light that they were using.
yes.
Now the car you saw, you said it was a older model car, correct?
It appeared to be an older model four-door, yes.
Older model four-door, was it like a sedan?
I believe so.
And how long would you say the man was banging at the front door for?
I couldn't say. A while.
While. And when you saw the man kneeling by that white truck and pointing his flashlight toward the fire, he was just watching the fire?
Yes,
Okay, he wasn't like doing anything with the fire, he was just watching it.
just kneeling.
How long do you think he was doing that for?
A good amount of time. I don't really know.
A good amount of time? And you said by the time you saw the first fire SUV that pulled onto your front lawn, by that time the men were gone.
The men were no longer in the same positions that I was watching them.
And did you ever see them again that morning?
I don't believe so.
And you were also, like you said, kind of informing your husband at the time of like what you were seeing, what was
Yes.
happening? when you say 20 to 30 minutes, is that because in one statement you said 20, in another statement you said 30? So it's like you're kind of saying it could be either one?
It could be, I didn't keep checking my clock.
And you didn't see their faces, right?
No,
And you said they were like average men, average build.
I believe so.
I'm going to. And when they were, their tone was not just excited, it was kind of hasty, and they were talking very fast.
Yes, from what I heard.